This may come as a shock to some of you, but yes, I like a lot of Kirby abilities, not just the good ones. Of course, don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with the best ones like Wing or Wheel. Even though the thumbnail that probably made you click this video suggests otherwise. No, whatever, my point is, I really like them too. But Kirby abilities are more than just the best. Given there are exactly 69 of them, leave your jokes in the comments, I'd really hope that's the case. And that's why we're all here today, to bask in the glory of copy abilities that I really like, that are really, really bad. As always, I should preface, not at the very beginning of the video, of course, because why would I ever do that? When I say bad copy abilities, I don't specifically mean, say, your favorite ability. Maybe that's what it winds up being, but I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that. I specifically mean bad in a speedrun setting, where more optimized play is required. Why use bad ability number 15 when I can use good ability number, I don't know, 4, you know? Sure, having fun is fun, but if we're playing to win like a bunch of gamers, then we want the best abilities. But what actually defines a good ability for speedrunning? Well, to help explain what I mean, the based pup that I am has been using background footage covering the 3 most relevant categories for all Kirby speedruns: any percent, 100%, or hundo, same thing but it sounds funnier, and a boss rush. Arena, ultimate choice, ultimate cup, boss push, boss endurance, whatever you want to call it. I like using these because it opens up opportunities for way more abilities to be good, compared to if we just did any percent. There'd be like 5 good abilities across the series in that case. It's so sad. F in the chat for my homie bad copy ability number 45. But my point is, when I say these are bad copy abilities, I mean it. They may have uses in some categories, across more than like 30 games, but it's either so rare, so unimpressive, or both that I'd still say that they're bad. Oh, one more thing. You can actually see how I'd rank every Kirby ability. It's a personal preference here. The speedrunning tier list is coming, oh god, someday, by watching the video linked on the screen somewhere. You'll notice I rank Sleep very high, higher than almost every ability in this video, maybe all of them, but I talk about Sleep a lot in general, so for the sake of variety, I didn't put it on here. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. Oh man, am I randomly all of a sudden excited for this one. And, YouTuber that I am going to start all of you off with a spicy pick, one that you may not expect. Let's see what it could be. Yeah, it's Beam. This one's always kinda surprised me. Unlike a lot of games where the old, easy to find, recognizable stuff just doesn't really keep up with what comes later, Kirby games do a really good job of keeping the classics up to snuff. The Fire, Cutter, Spark, even Sword to some extent, moaned as I am to admit it. So what's so wrong with Beam that I put it on a list of bad abilities? The big problem with Beam is that it winds up being a jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal. From the very beginning, it's a simple and easy to use ability that doesn't really do much of anything. It can knock out regular enemies from some unique angles, but none of that you can't easily do with other abilities. As the series went on and more stuff was added that made abilities do more and more things that Beam could kind of also do, while Beam, yeah, never really got much of anything. The mediocre damage, it's relatively slow, it's got no unique properties. I guess it's good enough range, but I can't use that range to do much of anything. Even its appeal of, look at how easy I am to find, kind of falls apart when you realize you're playing Kirby. Most of these abilities have that going for them, with or without mix. So then, why do I like it? Do I even like it? Of course I do, and there are a few reasons for that. For all of these abilities, I obviously think that they're fun, so just pretend I'm saying this for every single ability we talk about here, okay? I have also always loved Revolution Beam. Being able to spin around in the air without falling, it's such a treat. Seeing enemies admire Kirby's dazzling spins and you walk right into it. The move is unfortunately locked to the Return to Dreamland games, which bums me out a lot, but I love both of those games, so it's fine. Author's note, it's not fine. Bring this move back! As I'm sure the footage has given away at this point, I really like Beam in Superstar Ultra, and specifically Ultra. The color palette, immaculate, and the way all of the different beam attacks, you know is gonna fit that in there somewhere, looking different from each other really appeals to me. I love using Beam Blast, the attack you do by attacking in the air after using a dash. This shreds normal enemies, and hitting them a bunch of times from really far away in the air, especially after a long jump, feels really good. Beam Kirby feels a little too stiff for my liking in the OG KSS, but in Ultra, pure bliss. Pretend to be shocked. Now, putting aside my own preferences, Beam has actually had a game where it was really good. As everybody who's played it probably knows, Team Kirby Clash Deluxe has Beam Mage, which is obviously based off of Beam, with one big difference. Beam's charge attack, Wave Beam, has a unique property! Finally, Beam has something all to itself. This unique property is that, if you land it enough times, the enemies will freeze, stopping time and allowing Team Kirby to wail on them. This is less useful in Super Kirby Clash, since the inflated stats allow Hammer Lord to go truly insane. It's still good, but in Clash Deluxe, it's just the best ability in the game, no questions asked. Sadly, the Clash games are the exception here, not the rule. Beam isn't good, and that's a shame. I'd love to see some kind of damage boost or a new move maybe that helps launch Beam to new heights. Just anything. It is really sad seeing it next to early game classics that you can find anywhere, just like I mentioned earlier, and seeing with childlike wonder and awe at the sight of their speed running success. Even so, albeit to a lesser extent. Before we move on, you know what else I love? Weak segues! Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, if you like what you see. Giving the video a like and a comment, and maybe you can tell me how much you like these abilities, or which bad ability is your favorite, really helps too. All of this, by the way, completely free. I am a one-pup show on these, so I work as hard as I can to make the best videos for everyone, you included. I hope you're included. You're obviously all part of everyone. Regardless, I appreciate any and all support from the wonderful, wonderful people who watch my videos, and I won't delay the video anymore. Next ability! Yay! A problem that many Kirby abilities share is that they only show up in 1 or 2 games and ultimately aren't very good. This is the case with Bell, an easy top tier ability just for me. It got its debut in Triple Deluxe, showed up in Fighters Deluxe as paid DLC of all things, and then sat out of the series for a while. It quietly returned in Kirby Fighters 2, but hasn't seen much of anything since. Just saying, Return Deluxe. Got a giant bell that Kirby goes inside at one point. You could have gotten, I don't know, Towering Bell, the super ability or something. Give us Festival again, but we can't get Bell back. See how it is. But enough about how cool Puppy is. What makes Bell a bad ability? Well, just like Beam, it doesn't really do anything. Bell Throw, or attacking after dashing, it's a pretty solid attack for beating bosses. And by pretty solid, I mean work with me here, okay? But it doesn't really have anything else going for it. When an ability doesn't have an attack for moving quickly, like Bell does, it often means it takes a more defensive approach, like Bell. Defense is fine, you can make it work, but the big mistake with a lot of the more defensive abilities is that their damage just can't compete with anything. The Leaf is a defensive ability too, right? So is Archer and Cutter. Heck, Wheel, I mean, that stinks for boss fights, but it moves fast, it's great for levels. Bell is none of those things. So the question comes up again, why do I even like Bell? The big thing for me is that dash attack. Sure, it may not be the strongest, and sure, it does nothing for speed, but it's so satisfying doing a short hop, throwing out some bells, and then landing with another. Or timing it just right so you can immediately jump again after throwing your second set of bells. Also, one of my favorite things to do in literally all of Triple Deluxe. Also, just look how Bell is so cute and precious. I love. But that Kirby Fighters 2 game I mentioned before is definitely Bell at its best, and also my favorite version of it. To me, Fighters Deluxe is nothing more than just a cute little piece of history, at least as far as optimal Kirby is concerned, but Fighters 2 has a legitimate community of people that, to this very day, still love and play the heck out of it. And Bell is pretty good, not great. The big thing about Bell, aside from the fact that its attacks linger for a long time, is its guard. Every ability in KF2 can guard, but not only does Bell's guard have a few frames where even grabs don't work on it. I know, as a Parasol fan, I'm crying in the corner really hard. But the guard itself also deals damage. Being defensive actually works out in Bell's favor, although its poor frame data and reliance on its guard for basically everything hold it back. Oh shoot, am I still crying? Bell never set the world of speedrunning on fire. I guess fire did, but different topic, different video. And it's a shame that it only ever appeared in one mainline game. I really hope to see Bell again someday, and if we do, maybe it could be a bit better for speedrunning. Please? I'm not saying its whole kit has to be redone or anything, just like, man, can Bell have something? Maybe here's Puppy's idea: when you guard, a boss's health bar completely depletes. Yeah, they should hire me for balancing Kirby copy abilities. I am so good at it. Out of every ability that we're talking about today, Needle is the one that easily makes me the saddest. Don't misunderstand, it very well may be my favorite ability that we're talking about today. You'll watch that tier list video I mentioned before if you want to know for sure. Shameless plug! Yay! But as longtime Fluffle fans may know, Needle has this really unfortunate problem that it is always outclassed. Obviously, every ability we're talking about today is outclassed, but the thing about Needle is that it genuinely has a lot of tools that make it really good. But none of them can ever amount to anything because its tools just never come together to let it compete with other better abilities. Adventure, Nightmare, Return to Dreamland, Return Deluxe, Triple Deluxe, Canvas Curse, Dream Buffet, Needle is not a stranger to being in Kirby games. And one thing it has in common for all of these games, it's outclassed. Freeze is similar to it and better in Adventure. Spark is like that for Nightmare, Cutter in Return to Dreamland, Wheel in Triple Deluxe. The removal of Needle's new attacks from Triple Deluxe in Return Deluxe. Freeze again for Canvas Curse, which as it is already outclassed by Burning and Wheel. Burning in Dream Buffet and Wheel in Dream Buffet. Again, you don't have to look very far at all to see that Needle has abilities that are similar to it that it just can't keep up with. My favorite version of it, easily Return to Dreamland, and that's for a few reasons. First, while it's pretty mediocre against the bosses, the strats that it has are really fun. I love using the up stab when really close to maximize the Needle's damage, especially because it can be quite risky for the true arena, at least without having good spacing. And for the levels, oh, it's even better. You can keep your momentum from a dash attack in the air if you cancel into Needle's normal attack at the right time. It's crazy to see the distances that Needle can go, and unlike most dash attacks, it is actually balanced pretty brilliantly. I love that, super fun. The best version of Needle, though, is in the one game where it does the outclassing. I'm glad Needle gets to be on the other side for once. And what a fun game that it is. Needle in Kirby Air Ride is really insane. The wildest part to me is that the ability it outclasses is Sword, and Sword in Air Ride is really good. Arguably the second best in the whole game. Yeah, you can make an argument, I would too, for Needle being the best ability in the game. It is that good. Both it and Sword are simple. Hit enemies to go faster, but Sword is automatic with its swoosh-wash swings, making it miss in some crucial situations. Needle, meanwhile, is manual, and while you would think that it's like any other ability in Air Ride that requires you to charge and slow down and really use it, no, the spikes are always active. It's still manual, so you never really miss, but yeah. Of course, they become much easier to hit with when they're charged, so there's something there. You also get the Shadow Star Pleasant Needle Quick Kill on Day-to-Day, which is easily one of like my favorite things about Kirby Air Ride as a whole. And Forgotten Land, oh man, Needle in Forgotten Land is super weird. It's like fine for the bosses, so by default, I can't say that it's bad. But for the main game, it's outclassed, shocker, by staples like Fire and Tornado, boss killers like Drill, stuff like that. Nothing new for Needle. But the post-game in Forgo World, Needle is potentially the best ability for this category? I'm sorry? Okay, so check it out. And by check it out, I mean listen to me because I am lazy with the footage. At this point in the game, any percent or not, you will have enough Waddle-Dees to unlock your power-up shop. The attack boosts are nice, sure, but the speed boosts definitely give Needle an edge. But not enough of an edge. It's a Needle. It needs like a really pointy edge. And that really pointy edge comes from the fact that Needle actually counts as a part of Kirby. And because of this, Needle can collect the fragments of Leon's soul as Needle. The huge pointy spikes will actually allow you to reach fragments while moving insanely quick, something that its competitors like Fire and Tornado don't allow. Granted, the speed boost only really lasts about half of the run, so after that, you're back to your good old reliables, but Needle being unironically a swag since literally when? So yeah, Needle's cool, me likey. Shame it's effectively worthless in any game I didn't go in depth on, but me likey. It's fun. When the pre-release for Kirby Star Allies was running amok, everyone was freaking out over Artist. It had a really cute hat, it's an excellent idea for an ability in general, and it even had some callbacks to older games. Not to mention, the idea reminded a lot of people of Adeline from Kirby 64. That last point wound up being pretty apt, but I bring all of this up because Star Allies also introduced another ability, one that had people excited, but not talking nearly as much. That ability, of course, is Spider, and based on the video that it's in, you probably surmise it did not turn out to be good. And yeah, that's true. But it turned out better than Artist at least. Heyo! So again, what makes Spider so bad? Simply put, it's not good at doing the things that it is supposed to do well. It isn't outclassed like Needle, it just doesn't do what it's supposed to do. What Spider is supposed to do is leave around a lot of lingering spider webs similar in function to what Poison does. Poison is awesome, by the way. Arsenic, highly recommended. Anyway, Spider deals a lot less damage than Poison, but in exchange, it can trap enemies and objects in webs. These can either be kicked around the screen or slammed into the ground and thrown around with command grabs, or just left there to linger, enemies shaking from the inside, desperately trying to escape with nothing but death awaiting for them. Here are the issues with Spider Kirby. It's not only weaker than Poison, it's weaker than most other abilities. That damage, not good. It has moves that can deal alright damage, sure, but even regular enemies kind of be fairly beefy sometimes, and being unable to trap them in webs reliably and quickly just doesn't cut it. Oh, and bosses? Oh, forget it. For some reason, the stars that appear when bosses exist as beings who exist don't count as objects that Spider can trap in webs, so more often than not, the most defining feature of Spider can't even be used properly. You're just stuck throwing webs around the screen and hoping for the best. There's a joke here somewhere about, like, interwebs. I'm too bummed about Spider to make it. It's a real shame, too, because as bad as it is, it's really fun to use. Spider's dash attack in the air has you throw out these 3 webs at once, each of which lingers, as mentioned earlier. This is not only Spider's best way of dealing consistent damage, but you can use 2 of them in a single short hop, allowing for some really cool looking, and fun, ways of racking up damage really fast. While rare, getting to trap enemies in webs and fling them around the screen, it's just so much fun and rewarding. Any variant of a wispy fight will see you flinging webs from apples all over the screen, and it's one of my favorite things to do in all of Star Allies. The bounce move, that's also really fun too. Jumping on any lingering web, or holding up and jumping on that, will make Kirby leap off of them. This is actually pretty good for damage, and while it's tricky to use, it is super rewarding. Of course, this being me, I love improvising by leaping off whatever webs you wind up wherever, and just seeing where the game takes me. It's fun. Still, as much as I love Spider, I can't help but wonder, why the heck webs can't capture the stars left by the bosses? It feels so obvious, and every other ability that has command grabs in their kit, they grab stars just fine. Spider not being able to is so weird, and it's the one major change that I would make to it. I don't know, maybe I'd make it easier to chain the spider web bounces too, just so that Spider actually has something going for it in terms of movement. At the end of the day, I don't know, I really like Spider, and I just want to see it be better. But of all the bad abilities that have ever bad abilitied, except for sleep, I've saved the most extreme for last. Metal. It's, metal. It's, sure is metal. That's the most true thing I could say about it. And listen, I'm not here to insult anyone who actually likes metal, all 3 of you, because I obviously like it too. It's a really funny ability, one that I actually find kind of adorable. But I don't need to tell you that it's bad. You have eyes, and I'd assume you can decipher the code of why metal is one of the worst abilities of all time. It's slow, it deals like no damage, it effectively may as well not be able to float. It is such a disaster. Part of what makes it actually fun, I think, is the kind of game that Squeak Squad is. Very simple, with some light exploration, but only for chests. Regular enemies don't have much in terms of health, and metal, for what it's worth, can't be damaged by them. For bosses, we'll get into that, or you can look at the footage and feel extreme bewilderment. But either way, it's a bad look, so I don't want to think about it. And hey, it's only been in Squeak Squad, so if nothing else, it does not have to worry about being useless in other games. Yay! So with metal being so blatantly bad, what is it that I actually like about it? Oh my god, metal of all things. Honestly, by default, there's really not that much I like about it. However, to stay on brand, let's talk about speedrunning. And I'm sure you're wondering, thinking, shouting loudly at the screen, no way, metal has used for speedrunning? This I gotta hear. You grab some snacks, lean back in your chair, and get ready for an epic of the ages. It's spelled to epoch in the script, which I think is really funny. The tale of how metal overcame the odds and found a niche for the Kirby game with Squeak Squad wheeling it. And no, it's useless. Of course it is. But that hasn't stopped the community from memeing it up and making an entire speedrun category based on metal. The metal percent, as it's called, is exactly what it sounds like. As soon as you can get metal, you use it for the whole game. Aside from bosses, who metal just kinda can't really do anything against, you are stuck with metal, and metal is stuck with you. On the ground, it's not so bad, since slide kicking in this game is actually pretty good. And when it comes for moving down, the 3 times you need that, there is more than that, I mean like, silly here. It's obviously unparalleled for that. Anytime, though, that you're required to move up and there's no ladders around to help you, oh, your fate is out of control, friend. Yeah, but the existence of metal percent, and metal in general, showcases part of what I love so much about speedrunning, at least of the Kirby variety. You can call it a meme, or just something silly that a small group of people think is funny, we're right, by the way, but I don't care. The fact that metal of all things, has strats to go through any game, not to mention Squeak Squad, quicker than you'd expect, and a group of people just saying, hey, wouldn't it be funny if, and getting metal percent out of it. All these pieces just come together so well. This is something you're only gonna find in speedrunning. There's one thing that connects all of these abilities together, one single thread that we've learned by experiencing this journey of a video together, is that these are all Kirby copy abilities. You wanted something grand that makes this whole video feel complete? No, I'm just gonna be a silly. A silly who, once again, will kindly ask you to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you're really feeling generous, leave a comment. If you're feeling like super generous and you want to go the extra mile, please consider becoming a puptrin on Patreon or join as a mempup on YouTube for nifty perks, including early access to all videos like this one. Special thanks to my head-patting, Fluffle fan, Puptrins and Mempups, Freakish Uproar, Lydia Scribe, Nightfall, and Chris. I love you all. You are all so amazing. Definitely better than these abilities. I'm sorry, Needle. I love you too.